So welcome, dear friends. If you're new here, or welcome back if you've been following for a little while. So I'm Catherine G. Lucas, and in my last video, Get Ready for 2025, I mentioned that we're likely to see quite a bit of change this year. And so I want to talk to that theme a little bit more in terms of how do we best prepare, especially, for those of us that are sensitive to energy, those of us that are empaths, we're likely to potentially get knocked around a bit by the energy this year. And so it's going to be really important that we prepare well and that we look after ourselves well. And so what I like to do in terms of preparing for the new year is I start by doing a thorough review of the year that's just gone. And then I kind of look at, okay, so what do I want to focus on? And I do not, I'm definitely not a New Year's intention person, but I do very much believe in the power of intention. Not so much, and I mentioned this in my last video, Get Ready for 2025, not so much in terms of the external projects that we want to be playing with, what it is that we want to be calling in this year, but more in terms of our state of being. How do we want to feel as we go through the year? What energy do we want to be in, and what energy do we want to be putting out there? Because whatever, our vibration or our frequency is, that's very much what we're putting out into the world. And so, yeah, as I was kind of getting ready for the new year, this is kind of around the time of the solstice, and there was a new moon. There was a new moon just before the new year, which I thought was lovely timing, actually. And so I was focusing very much on how do I want to be, yeah, how do I want to be in the world? And what are my priorities? And so what I came up with this year was that I just want to follow my heart, follow my bliss and my joy. Uh, Yeah, which actually, when I look back at last year, I seem to do quite a bit of that. um, but then the other thing that I really felt was that I wanted to carve out some quiet time, some stillness and some silence, like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and even a yearly basis in terms of, going on a longer retreat at some point. And so I went through my calendar, just kind of each week, having one day a week that's kind of like my retreat day, my day for quiet and stillness, and and then yeah, and following that process through. Now, why is stillness important at this time? I mean, in a sense, it's fairly obvious, isn't it? The more wild things get on the outside, the more chaotic and change and disruption that we see out in the world, then the more we need to come back to our centers, come back to that inner place of quiet and stillness. And I think particularly because as part of the global awakening, many of us are starting to become more open to maybe to guidance, to our intuition. Um, yeah, just becoming more, maybe even a little bit more telepathic with our partners. Um, and certainly those of you that already have, some abilities in terms of the kind of clairvoyance or clairaudience, clairsentience, then those are going to get heightened. But in order for that to happen, I think, and in order for us to even notice that it's happening, I think we need that stillness. We need regular time when we can come back to ourselves and just notice. And so today has been my kind of quiet day, my retreat day, and something came through just this morning that kind of took me by surprise. It's like, okay. Um, and that wouldn't have happened if it had been a normal kind of busy, kind of out there in the world kind of day. So So yeah, so I definitely would encourage that. The other thing that I think is really helpful is to maybe choose a word or two or three words, maybe max, that are going to help you focus on that state of being, on how you want to be. So, you know, in terms of choosing something, I mean, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be, you know, for me, wanting to follow my heart and follow my bliss. My word for the year could be joyful or laughter. Actually, last year I chose Sacred Laughter Adventure, which kind of, yeah, I felt like quite a kind of an interesting combination, actually. Um, so yeah, so think about that. Think about a word that would take you through the year, that can support you. You know, as we're kind of riding the waves and the bumps of the year, uh, choose something that's going to help you to be in whatever state of being, whatever energy you want to be in. And, you know, if you, I don't know if you have a sacred space at home, maybe you have a little altar, little shrine, you can write that word out in you know, or paint it out or something in large letters and put it on your shrine, or maybe you're more of a post-it person. But find a way to keep coming back to that so that it can feed you and nurture you through the year. And the other thing that I would like to say is that, you know, coming back to our practice of self-awareness is going to be really important. I mean, it's always important, but with a year that promises to bring so much change and potentially a lot of outward chaos and even crisis, then I think our self-awareness practice, our mindfulness practice, to notice what we're feeling, notice what we're thinking, so that then we can do something about that and act on it, or work with it or transform it. So that's going to be, yeah, even more important. And so I'm going to link below to some free resources. These are on Insight Timer, actually. Some free meditations, mindfulness meditations of mine that can really help you come back to your center, come back and kind of enhance your self-awareness and your mindfulness practice. And the other thing I want to say is, you know, don't be afraid of the word crisis. You know, I support people who have been through the process of spiritual emergency, emergence and emergency. And of the books, of my 4 books, you know, 3 of them have the word crisis in the title. I guess I've been a little bit typecast there. But, you know, crisis it can be transformative. And, you know, absolutely, you know, of all the people that I support and I've worked with over the years, people don't regret going through a period of crisis. You know, if you look back at the pandemic now, you know, can you see what came out of it in terms of the positives, the benefits, the learning? It certainly kind of changed things enormously. And whilst obviously, you know, I wouldn't wish crisis on anybody in terms of uh, yeah, just, you know, it's not fun to go through, but at the same time, you know, with the right help and support, it can be absolutely life-changing. And I've seen time and again people just shifting up to a whole nother level of consciousness, and this is what's now happening globally. You know, it's through the crisis that we're going to be shifting up to a whole new level of consciousness. And so, I mean, maybe we're not going to go as far as being able to kind of welcome crisis, but maybe we can see that it's not something negative, that it's not something to be feared, that actually this is where our growth and our expansion and our awakening can come from. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I will be talking to these themes more and more as we go through the year. Go well for now.